Good morning to everyone at today's public hearing of panel, it's not panel A, it's, I forget what number it is, of A panel of the Prosecutor Vetting Commission. My name is Christopher Lehman, chairperson of the panel. I declare this session to be open. The Prosecutor Vetting Commission is established under Law Number 252 on the external evaluation of judges and prosecutors. Law Number 252 establishes that this commission will undertake an ethical and financial evaluation of prosecutors who are identified in Article 3, Paragraph 1 of the law as subjects of the evaluation. This three-member panel is constituted to conduct the evaluation pursuant to Article 15 of Law Number 252. The hearing is being conducted pursuant to the provisions of Article 16 of the law, as well as the Commission's rules of procedures for evaluations under Law 252. The subject of today's hearing is Vitalie Codreanu, prosecutor in the Anticorruption Prosecutor's Office. Mr. Codreanu, welcome this morning. I'm joined by my colleagues on this panel. To my immediate right, Cornel Lebedinsky, and to my left, Saskia de Vries. The panel is also assisted by members of our secretariat. The hearing is open to the public and members of the media. The hearing will be conducted with interpretation into both English and Romanian, and to allow for accurate interpretation, I would ask everyone to speak slowly and clearly. The proceedings are being recorded. The recordings of the public hearing will be available online on the Commission's website within 3 days. During the hearing, one or more members of the panel may ask questions to Mr. Codreanu. I ask that you answer them truthfully and completely. Your explanations are important to us in verifying your compliance with the criteria for ethical and financial integrity. In formulating our questions, we will take into account your privacy and, where required and possible, privacy of your family members and close persons. So we will leave out any unnecessary details relating to ID numbers, bank account numbers, specific addresses of real estate, and the like. And for your protection and privacy, we would ask that you do the same. We will also give you the opportunity to make a brief closing statement at the end of the hearing. I will start by briefly reviewing the evaluation process. The Commission initiated its evaluation process on the 24th of May, 2024, by notifying the subject by email and asking him to complete and return both the ethics questionnaire and a financial declaration form as required by Law Number 252. The subject returned the completed questionnaire and declarations on the 13th of June, 2024. As part of the evaluation of the subject's financial and ethical integrity, the Commission also obtained information from many other sources. Those include the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, other public institutions, financial institutions, and open sources. The Commission also sent you 2 rounds of questions on the 4th of August 2025 and the 23rd of September 2025, to which you responded. On the 27th of October, the panel notified you of today's hearing and further advised you that the panel, after the analysis of the accumulated information, had certain doubts to discuss with you. Those doubts were detailed in an annex to the hearing notice that was sent to you. You confirmed receipt of the hearing notice on the 28th of October 2025. Mr. Codreanu, I understand that you sent additional information late last night or either early this morning. That has not been reviewed by the Commission. So obviously we may need to follow up with additional questions, and it's even conceivable that we would need to resume the hearing. I will advise you that under the statute, we have a very limited time from the hearing until the deadline for filing the report with the Superior Council of Prosecutors. So any engagement with you over these additional materials will have to be conducted on an expedited basis with relatively short response times by you. In general, this is not a practice that we wish to encourage, given that the evaluation has been ongoing for many months. I'm not quite sure why you only are sending us documents on the morning of the hearing. Let me begin with two short questions for you, and I'll ask you to respond in a complete and truthful manner. First, I'd like to ask if you have any additions or corrections to the information and answers you have provided up until now to the Commission.
Good morning, good to be here. I have nothing to add. Now, as regards that explanation, if I may provide a few details. That explanation came along with a number of documents. Most of them are also in the file that the panel has. I just made some references for every chapter or matter. I've supplied a particular document that I properly referred to. There are 3 documents that the Commission was not aware about, but that I received just recently. That is an excerpt, like a statement from the bank account of my father's bank statement, that proves that in 2007 he received the amount of 7,800 euros, and that was used to buy a car. And then another document that is those are statements of the bank accounts. So the bank accounts specifically that the Commission has drawn attention to in the doubts that it shared with me. In fact, the statements are in their entirety, they are in the file, but I've asked for them again from the bank to have the specific statements as of the date on which the declaration of assets and interest was filed. But this information, as a matter of principle, does not change fundamentally the essence of my arguments. I just wanted to show specifically that as of the date of those declarations, what the situation was as at that date. And the last document consists of 3 statements from 3 people confirming that they knew my father, they were hunters, and they would all together go on hunting expeditions, and they've seen him a number of times riding 2 of those cars, off-road cars that he would drive when they would go hunting together. So this is a way for me to confirm that he was the owner of those cars and also was using those cars. And that is the reason why I wanted to provide those statements as further evidence as to my accounts. In fact, they're not additional documents per se. It's just the 3 other ones that do not fundamentally impact the arguments that I have previously made in the explanations that I have provided yesterday. Thank you.
Noted, and we'll be following up on all these issues. The second question that I have for you is just to clarify, the answers to the ethics questionnaire and the financial declaration that you returned back on the 13th of June 2024, is that all still accurate as of today?
Yes, that is still the case, certainly.
All right. I think I will turn at this point to Ms. De Vries, who will have some questions.
I will indeed start with the questions. I have a bit of a cold, as you may notice, so I apologize, and if you cannot hear me properly, please tell me. First, I'm going to discuss with you a number of bank accounts, which were also mentioned in the hearing notice. And the first bank account is the bank account in Romania. You have made statements about this bank account, and this was bank account on which you received benefits for your children, which are supplied by the Romanian state. And you have not declared these bank accounts in your annual declarations as far as the panel can see, but you have said that you have put it into your income. Is that correct? So you've declared it as income.
Yes, correct. In 2015-2016, or better said, in the declarations of 2015-2016, I included this bank account, I showed it. After that, in the following years, I just including the amounts that I received on a monthly basis for the benefit of my minor children. And I would like to say that this bank account is used exclusively for the benefit of our minor children received from the Romanian state. No other money entered this account. I included €250 per month for each declaration. So in the following declaration, I just kept the data from the previous declarations, and I did not pay due attention to this section of the declaration. In other words, I would like to say that I did not hide the fact that I received money from the Romanian authorities, and actually I did not know exactly the amount on this account because I did not have much access to this card. We in the family never used this card. Until 2023, no money were withdrew from this bank account. We did not use it. If using this card in the Republic of Moldova, some additional fees were charged, and we did not want to pay those fees. And because of that, because of this reason, I was not aware of the accurate amounts on this account, but I just included in my declarations the money received on a monthly basis.
These are considerable amounts if you look at it over 20 and 21 and 22. They're actually over the declaration limit of 15 average monthly salary. So I'm a bit surprised that you say that you really did not know how much money was in the account.
I explained that I did not check the balance to know the exact amount. We did not use this card. It was intended for children. That is why we did not check the balance of this card. We did not have e-banking to have the possibility to see the balance online. But again, I would like to clarify some things here if possible. The amount that were above the 15 average monthly salaries are because of this bank account from Romania. But it is important that the biggest amount of money that we have accumulated as a family was the amount accumulated on the bank accounts in the Republic of Moldova that I declared in my declarations of income, and that were also intended for children. The name of the account was for children. So in my explanation, I also made a calculation. I calculated the percentage of these bank accounts that the panel indicated in full, and I explained that the 10 bank accounts that panel says that I have not declared for 2020, there was a balance of 20 lei. For 2021, the balance was 2.97 lei. For 2022, the balance was 109 lei. This is a very low percentage, but the biggest percentage for each separate year are the accounts that I have declared, the accounts in the Republic of Moldova intended for children, to accumulate money for children. And I made a calculation here. I declared in 2019 the amount 95%, more than 95% of the total amount of funds that were placed on those bank accounts. In 2020, I indicated 94%, more than 94% of the funds placed on those bank accounts, and in 2021, 82%. In other words, this difference, 5-6%, and in 2021, 18%, is made by the bank account from Romania. So yes, indeed, I was not attentive enough. I did not show the bank account itself, but I reiterate, I included the amounts that I received from the Romanian authorities on a monthly basis.
So, are we in agreement that you should have declared these bank accounts?
În virtutea legii 100.
Yes, on the basis of Law 133, I should have declared the account from Romania. That's an omission on my part.
Nu cred sau
But
consider că
I believe
această
that
omisiune nu este una atât
this
de
omission
gravă
is
încât
not that
eu am
severe,
indicat celelalte sume
because
care
I have included
majoritatea
all of the
banilor
other
deținute
amounts
în
that
cont
constituted
bancar.
most of my money placed on banking accounts. So that's my explanation.
Any more questions about the bank accounts? Okay. I am going to move to the cars. I first started looking at the number of cars which have been in the name of your father over the years, and it's the Nissan, it's the Hyundai, it's the Land Rover, it's 2 trailers, and there's a was. Understand I have to say was. It's a little van, right? Or a little lorry. Is that correct? Or are there more cars?
Da.
Okay. You have explained that your father was a very active person. He went hunting, but he also was involved in the honey business, if I remember correctly, which would probably explain the van or the was and the trailers. But he also had these 3 cars. And the impression that the Commission gets is that these cars were mainly used by you, your wife, and with regards to the Land Rover, which is not in your hearing notice, but it's to give a complete picture, by your sister. And let me just check. I'll start with the Nissan. I think the car was bought in 2013, and you say this was done by your father for around 10,000 euros. Is that correct?
Da, este adevărat.
Yes, correct. And in this regard, I also submitted the receipt confirming that my father paid to Mrs. Vascan an amount of 10,500 euro, if I'm not mistaken.
Why did your father buy this car?
Completul mi-a formulat întrebarea respectivă.
The panel
și
asked this question, and
mi-este complicat să dau un
it is
răspuns
complicated for me to give you an accurate answer what was the reason of my father to buy a number of vehicles, having already
Eu pot doar să
some vehicles in
intuiesc
possession. I can
că
only assume that
această mașină era
this vehicle
o mașină pe care el și-o dorea
was what he wanted,
anume acest model.
always this model,
Și mașina
and
respectivă
this
a fost
vehicle
un preț destul de bun.
had a good price.
El a acceptat
He accepted
prețul,
the
a mers și
price,
în prezența mea el a acceptat
and
acea
in my
sumă de
presence
bani.
he paid that amount of money. That's all I can say.
Dar
But
iarăși, după cum am
again,
spus și
as
anterior
I've
și
replied
în
previously,
altă comisie,
and as
destinația
I've informed
acestor mașini
another
și Land
commission,
Rover
the
și
purpose of these
Nissan
vehicles,
Patrol erau
Land
exclusiv
Rovers, Nissan
pentru
Patron,
apicultură.
so
El
these
nu mai
vehicles
folosea
were
aceste
used for
automobile
his
și
honey
la
business.
vânătoare,
He also used
în
these
sezonul
vehicles
vânătoare,
for
dar, în
hunting during the
special,
hunting
zilnic
season,
sau regulat,
but on a daily
săptămânal, el
basis, on a
folosea
weekly basis,
mașinile
these vehicles
respective
were
la-
used for his
la
honey
agricultură.
business.
Ele sunt mașini destul de
These
mari,
are
care
big
permiteau,
vehicles,
transportarea
so
cantităților
he
mari
could
și accesul
transport
în zone,
large quantities of stuff,
zone închise
and
unde cu un
he also
automobil,
could
cu un
have
alt tip de
access
automobil nu poți
to
intra, timp de
areas
ploaie,
which
mai ales,
are not suitable for other
atunci când
types
ești cu
of
un încărcător
vehicles,
mai mare.
especially during rainy periods or if you have quite heavy cargo in your vehicle.
What was the source of funds for this purchase? Do you know?
Eu și în explicațiile
In my
care am
explanations
expediat
that
acum
I
recent
sent
și în
recently
explicații față
and
de
the
Comisia
explanations
Vetting,
provided
am
to the
arătat și, de
Pre-Vetting
fapt,
Commission,
Comisia
I
Pre-Vetting a
showed
luat în
actually
considerație acest
the
lucru.
Pre-Vetting Commission took this into account.
Fondurile erau
The
din
funds
salariile și în
were
special din
the salary
apicultură.
of my
Eu am
father
făcut niște
and
calcule
the
estimative.
income from
Dacă
the
Comisia
honey
îmi
business.
va permite,
I
eu
made
am să
some
le arăt
estimates
și aceste
with the permission
calcule
of the
făcute
Commission.
le-am
I will
arătat în
show
explicații.
these calculations.
În
I've
mod
introduced them in my
general,
explanations, by the way.
ajung la 11
It's
milioane de
about
lei
11 million lei over a period of 20 years.
Evident că suma asta este un pic
Obviously, this amount is
neclară pentru comisie,
a
dar
bit
eu am
unclear
prezentat în acest
for the
sens
Commission,
acte care
but
confirmă
I've
că
submitted documents
din
confirming
anul
that my father,
2020 până în
since
2022, a
2020
primit
to
pensie și
2022, he
salariu
received pension.
în
He
sumă
had a
totală de
salary
1.600.000
amounting
lei.
1,600,000 lei.
La fel am prezentat
I
acte care
also
confirmă
submitted
că
documents
taică-meu
confirming
vindea
that my
miere de
father
aulie. Este o
used to
factură
sell
prin care se
honey. There is an
confirmă
invoice
plata
confirming
de
the payment
105.000
of
lei pentru o tonă de miere.
105,000 lei for
La
1
fel,
ton of honey.
am prezentat și acte
I
care
also
confirmă că
submitted
taică-meu,
documents confirming that my father,
pe lângă, după ce a fost eliberat din funcție în legătură cu
after
pensionarea,
retirement, he continued to work at ASITO. He had a legal support contract and he continued to receive a big salary.
Acum, în ultima etapă sau în ultimele de zile, eu am solicitat
I have recently
Agroinbank mi-a prezentat o informație
received from Agroinbank an information showing that in 2007 my father received dividends from ASITO company when the company was sold to other shareholders. He received 7,800 euro. This money were withdrew by my father from the bank accounts opened on his name. In 2015, he placed this money on the same bank account, and in 2015, he used this money to buy the Hyundai vehicle. So, with regards to that vehicle, I also submitted some documents confirming that the purchase agreement was signed by him and the payment orders were also signed by him. I would like to clarify also that I submitted documents confirming that my father was indeed involved in the honey business. He was a member of the association since 1991. I submitted also the passport of the honey plantations consisting of more than 130 families. So during different years, the number of bee families ranged from 100 to 150. I also submitted some documents confirming that in 2024 he had 120 bee families. And in this table, you can see a margin of honey extraction for one bee family. It was about 20 kilograms per family annually, and this information is provided by a scientist. I believe that this information is relevant and should be taken into account. I made some estimates based on this information. And to give you more accurate data, so if we take those calculations into account, so considering that my father had at least 100 bee families, so starting with 2008, he had about 300 more than 359,000 in 2009, more than 468,000 lei in 2010, 2011 more than 500,000 lei, in 2012 more than 500,000 lei, and so on.
La fel, vreau să menționez că
Also, I'd like to say that my father, in addition to selling honey,
vindea și alte
also
produse
sold other bee products,
ceara, polen, propolis,
propolis, wax.
propriu-zis și
He also
familii de albini. Eu am anexat la materiale
sold
anterior, am
families
anexat la
of
materiale,
bees. I
unele
submitted
informații din care rezultă prețurile
some
per
information
familie de
showing
albini și
the price of
informația
one
care
bee
mi-a eliberat
family,
Biroul Național
and the
de
information
Statistică cu
submitted
referire
by
la
the National Bureau of
prețurile
Statistics
medii de
showing the
vânzare în
average
fiecare an în parte,
prices
începând cu anul
for each year, starting
2009,
with
dacă nu greșesc.
2009,
Și în
if I'm not
aceste calcule
mistaken.
eu am,
So, in these calculations,
am ajuns estimativ la o sumă
I
care
estimated
depășea cu mult
an amount that exceeded
veniturile
significantly
care le avea din
the
salariu. Eu cred că
salary
în
income
cei
of my
15-20
father.
de
So
ani,
I believe
venitul
that
practic nu puteau
during
fi
the
peste 5
15-20
sau
years, my father
6
could have
milioane
earned
de
more than 5 or 6
Asta era
million
sursa
lei.
de bază a familiei
This
noastre,
was
din care
the core
noi, de
income
fapt,
source of our family,
ne întrețineam.
that the money that we used
Și
for our
în acest sens, eu
maintenance.
cred că
And
aceste 200.000
I believe that this 200,000 lei for this vehicle was not a big amount, and of course my father afforded this price.
It is very hard, indeed impossible, for the panel to take into account or give comments on what you have just presented simply because we do not have it. So we will look into it, like said by the chairperson, and if we have additional questions, we will get back to you. But right now, there's nothing I can do with the information that you are supplying us.
Mă scuzați, dacă îmi permiteți.
My apologies, with your
Comisia
permission.
le-a avut
The
aceste
Commission
date, ori
had
aceste
this
date
data,
nu au fost
because these
date
data
furnizate,
were not
acum
submitted
recent sau
now,
parcursul
recently.
rundelor de întrebări-răspunsuri. Aceste
These
date
data
vin din evaluarea mea în procedura de pre-vetting.
come from
Și
my
aici, de fapt,
evaluation
motivul
during the
amănunțit care v-am
pre-vetting
expus în
procedure.
explicații că-
We are not the pre-vetting commission. I'm sure you noticed.
Evident,
So let's keep it at that.
evident, dar eu vreau să-mi explic
Yes,
gândul,
for
dacă
sure.
îmi
I would
permiteți.
just like to finish my thought with your
În
permission.
cadrul comisiei pre-vetting,
In the pre-vetting
aceste dubii
commission,
mi-au fost înaintate cu
these
referire la
doubts
aceste
were
dovediri.
submitted to me with regards to these
În rundele de
vehicles
întrebări și
during
nemijlocit
the
în timpul
rounds of
interviului.
questions and during the
Comisia a
hearing.
dezbătut aceste
The pre-vetting
aspecte.
commission
Eu am
debated
prezentat
these
toate
issues.
cele acte
I've
care le are
submitted
și completul
all of the
în
documents
componența
that
dumneavoastră.
were submitted to you as
Și
well.
în decizia din
And
15
in
mai
the decision of
2023,
May 15th,
aceste
2023,
dubii,
these
ca fiind dubii
doubts
serioase, au fost
were
excluse. Ele nu și-au
mitigated,
găsit
were
confirmare
eliminated.
sau,
They were not
cumva,
confirmed,
Comisia nu le-a
and
mai
the Commission
reflectat
did not
și le-a
reflect
exclus. De
them,
fapt, eu
excluded
consider
them.
că
So I
chiar
believe
dacă
that
este o comisie
even if
diferită
it's a
de
different
completul
commission,
care sunt astăzi în față, eu consider
I
că
believe
aceste
that
lucruri nu pot fi negate. Și
these
alte
facts
materiale
cannot
de
be
interes decât cele care
negated.
Comisia
And other materials,
Vetting le-a avut și
in addition
completul
to those
le-a
submitted
solicitat
to
la
the
Comisia
Vetting
Vetting,
Commission
nu
and the
sunt
panel
și nu au fost
requested from the
prezentate.
Vetting Commission,
Alte argumente
I
decât
have not
cele care au fost
submitted. So I
anterior
have
nu au
not
fost prezentate.
submitted
Deci eu
now
consider că
different arguments.
poziția
So I believe that
că completul nu a avut
the position that the
respectivele
panel did not
documente nu este
have
una veridică.
these documents is not accurate, is not true.
I just want to confirm, this is a different commission operating under a different standard, under a different statute. So the evaluation process that was conducted by the pre-vetting commission is not the same standard of evaluation that's being conducted now. And in fact, the pre-vetting member was excluded from this panel for that very reason. So just a note of procedure.
Okay. I'm going to continue with the Nissan, and we noticed, of course, that your father gave you a right of use of this car. What was the reason for that?
De ce? Că noi trăiam
Because
împreună până la
we
decesul lui
used to live
și
together
principiul
until he
aveam
passed
o
away.
gospodărie comună.
We had a
La noi
shared
în familie,
household.
relațiile erau
In our family,
normale,
the
bune.
relationship were good. We had good relationships among family members. I want to tell you that my father issued such certificates of right of use without me asking for it. It was a natural thing for him to do. I did not ask for it. It was okay. It was a normal thing in our family for me to have access to those vehicles and to have the possibility to use them. We did not have any conflicts among ourselves, in particular with regards to our shared properties. I reiterate, we lived together. I don't believe that there was another way, or if I were in his shoes, if I did differently.
So you did not have a car of your own. You used both cars of your father.
I have never had my own car. I used his vehicles only when he allowed me. I explained to the other commission and I explained to this panel as well. I did not have always access to these vehicles. Initially, he used the vehicle. After that, after Land Rover Defender was acquired, he started using the second one because it was more appropriate for his needs, and it was an older vehicle, so he decided to use the older vehicle in forests and in those areas where his bees were placed in order not to be afraid of damaging the newer vehicle. So the newer one he used in a more prudent way, but still he used both of them for his honey business. We never had this issue of having some restrictions imposed by him. I have a period, by the way, in the materials. I included that in 2017, 2018, my father somehow prohibited me from he did not allow me to use that vehicle. But after that, this was overcome and I was allowed to keep on using the vehicle. And this is confirmed by the fact that the vehicle did not have an insurance and technical revision done for this vehicle in 2018. And I would like to bring you some additional details for this context that confirm that I did not have permanent access to this vehicle and I did not use it on a continuous basis. In 2021, I found in the materials that received from the panel, I found that this vehicle, Nissan, was involved in a road accident or contravention involving a person that I don't know and that my family does not know. This is another proof that my father used the vehicle as he wanted to. He maybe gave the vehicle to a person that I don't know. So this confirms one more time that this vehicle was not always in my possession. Yes, I also had some contraventions. Yes, I always paid for the technical revision and for the insurance, third motor party insurance. But I have another explanation for this. I have good relationships with an insurance agent who used to give me the insurance at a lower price, a price lower than the market price. So it was a win-win situation, both for me and my father. But this does not prove the fact that I paid for the insurance and for the technical revision does not prove that I was the final beneficiary of this vehicle. I covered these expenses because, as I've said, I had acquaintances working at TransElite who gave me prices that were better than the market prices. And I also submitted documents to confirm that, showing that throughout the period when my father was the owner of these two vehicles that I paid for the insurance.
That is correct. We've seen that. And you say, I did this not because I was driving the car, but I could get a better price than my father. So did you father refund you for the insurance and for the technical inspections?
Nu, niciodată.
No,
Nu era
never.
relația încât noi să contabilizăm
In our relationship, we did not keep track of his spending. Moreover, my father, until marriage, until I got married, he used to help me because I was always with him. I used to help him in his honey business, so he would cover a part of my expenses. So we did not have any issues with that.
But you are right. You paid for almost all the years for the insurance. You are also right that you were sanctioned for committing 4 traffic contravention in this particular car on 2016, 2021, 2023, even twice. That was with the Nissan, which is also, let's say it's remarkable that if you use the car, then apparently the police seems to find you. Another thing that I would like to confront you with is that you have spent a remarkable amount of money on petrol over the years. And if you only rarely use the car of your father, then I do not quite understand that over a period of 5 years you have spent 35,000 lei on petrol.
Mă scuzați, dar eu nu cunosc despre aceste
I am
calcul de
sorry,
35.000
I am not aware of this amount of 35,000 lei for petrol. I don't know the source of this information. I have not submitted it.
From your bank accounts. It's information from your bank accounts.
Înseamnă că este un lucru care își găsește confirmare.
So it means that that's correct. I accept the information coming from my banking account. I cannot say that they are not correct. This information is not correct. But I would like to reiterate, it's not only me having contraventions with this vehicle. I've already told you there is a person. With your permission, I can give the number, the name.
On the 5th of April 2021, he committed a contravention using that car. I don't know who he is. He's not an acquaintance of mine or of my family. I would like to say that my father, he could have just taken the keys and give them away to anyone. I often would not know where he was taking the car, and maybe that person too is the beekeeper, maybe, and they were maybe driving together, and then he was driving and my father was not able to be driving at that time, or maybe my father was driving the Land Rover. I've explained it to the Vetting Commission as well, that we've had situations when both cars were being used for traveling to the beehives for beekeeping activities. I would drive the Nissan, and he would be driving the Land Rover, my father, and we would carry different tools, pieces of equipment, and people who would be there helping us out. So same was for that car. My father sometimes would not, one car would not be enough for him to carry to the beehives all the equipment for extracting the honey. That was the most cumbersome, the most difficult part of the work, and we would even hire people for the honey extraction. We would we would take with us people, acquaintances of ours, and then we'd use them in parallel. It was either him or myself. It's not like on this particular date I would be the only one using this car. And it went to 2017 until 2018. I had no access at all to that car, which is indicative again of the fact that the right of ownership and the right of using and making decisions about that car, that right belonged to my father. He would be the decision maker in this regard. Who was using it, where, and when.
Mr. Codreanu, your father was not even the insured person on the insurance. It was you. I find that remarkable if you say that your father used the car all the time and he was the owner.
Eu am explicat. Eu făceam
I have
asigurarea
explained
că
that I
prețul
was taking care of the
asigurării era mai ieftin
insurance
decât
because I could get a
în
smaller
altă parte.
price, a lower
Și
price
dacă
than
comisia va
elsewhere for
considera
insurance.
necesar,
And
eu
if
pot
the
să duc și
Commission believes that,
explicații de la acea
that
persoană
more is
care
required, I
era
can
agentul
provide,
de
I can
asigurări.
get some explanations from that person who was an insurance agent and then forward that to you.
El poate veni oricând.
And he can do that anytime.
We're going to the second car. That was the second car is the Land Rover, right? That was the same year, 2013. And basically you were saying he wanted the second car because of the huge amount of honey, right?
Nu era un volum
Well, not a
uriaș.
huge
Era
amount.
un volum normal în
It was a
dependență
normal
de
amount,
ponența stupiei pe
depending
care o avea.
on
Era
on the
un volum de
beehives that he
lucru
had. That was
mare.
the
Dar,
workload was huge. What was
despre
huge was
cel
the
Land Rover
workload.
Defender, eu, în
But the
general,
Land
nu am
Rover
cunoscut că
Defender,
el îl
about it,
achiziționat.
I did
El a
not
venit
even
acasă
know
și mi-a
when he
spus,
bought
uite,
it.
am
He
cumpărat
came
un-
home and he said, "Look, I bought
Și eu
this."
când am văzut acea mașină, mi-a
And when I
părea că
saw
este
the
o
car,
investiție nu prea
I
reușită,
thought
că
that was
mașina
not
aceea
quite good an investment because
de
that
20 de
car,
ani,
I
era
mean,
într-o
it was
stare
20 years old.
deplorabilă era.
It was in a very bad condition, in
Și,
fact.
bun, el cumva a
And
îndrăgit schimbul automobilului și
he
el
became
și-l a
fond of
luat
that
el să
car over
deplaseze.
time,
Și,
so he
într-adevăr,
would be
în privința
the one
automobilului,
using
eu
it
am
most of the
mandat
time.
sau
And
am
with
avut,
regards to that car, I too had the right to use it.
Și cu acel automobil, din
And
cât eu mi-aduc
with that
aminte, eu
car, as far as I
niciodată
can
n-am
remember,
făcut,
I
el
have
nu m-a rugat, de
never,
fapt,
I
să
mean,
fac
he's never
asigurarea sau
asked
revizie
me
tehnică la acest automobil.
to take
Și
care of the
acel
insurance
car,
or of the
doar el
technical
se ocupa
inspection for that car. So in that
de
particular
revizie
case, he
tehnică
was
și de
the only
asigurare.
one in charge of that.
Deci
He was
el
the
a ales
only one
calea asta,
addressing the
probabil
insurance
că
as well. So why
el
he
știa
went that
când să duci,
way?
când să ce
Well,
faci.
he
Eu
was the
acel
one
automobil, practic,
in
nu
full
l-am
control of it. He knew
utilizat.
what he was doing with it. I've never used it.
By your sister.
Sora mea nu l-a utilizat.
My sister did
Sigur
not use it. She certainly did not.
Dacă vorbim de
Speaking
Land Rover?
of the Land Rover,
Nu, nu,
are
mie
we?
îmi pare că nu, că
No, I think
știe mecanică
not,
acea
because
mașină
that was
și
a
sora
stick mechanical
are dificultăți de a conduce o
gearbox,
mașină.
and she can't.
Right? You say women cannot.
Nu,
drive.
n-am făcut aluzii. N-am făcut
Oh, I did
aluzii
not
la
mean
asta
anything
deloc,
else. I did not mean
doar e
anything
vorba
like
de
that.
sora mea care
It's just that it's my
implica
sister, and
atunci când,
she had some issues or
conducea o
difficulties
mașină
to
cu
drive
Și
such a
categoric,
gearbox,
acea
car with
mașină
such a
nici nu
gearbox,
spunea în
and
discuție ca ea să
certainly and
aibă
categorically, it was
acces
never even a matter of discussion for her to have access to that
necesitățile
car and
legate de
attend to her
faptul de transportare,
errands
care nu,
using that
asta
car.
n-a
No, that
fost.
was out of the question.
Okay. We move to the Hyundai. That was bought in 2015. You already explained what the source of funds was for that particular car. And my question is, who was using that car during the lifetime of your father?
Acel automobil l-a folosit și taică mi-a dat foarte
My
puțin,
father has
sau
used
mai
it too, but
puțin.
very little or less.
L-am utilizat eu și l-a
I've been
utilizat
using
soția,
it,
iar
my
din
wife
anul
has been using it,
2019,
and from
a
2019
fost
onwards,
încheiat un contract,
an agreement was entered into,
de comodat, pare mi se, dacă nu
a
greșesc eu,
payment agreement, like
între taică
a
meu
loan for
și
use agreement
cabinetul
between
avocatului.
my father
Știm
and
din
the
2019
law
până în
firm
2000,
from
până în
2019 to
2021 sau
2021 or
2022,
2022 until my father passed away.
nu, pare mi se până în
I think
2021
till
acest automobil a
2021. In
fost,
fact, that car has been
legat de acest contract.
provided for in that contract.
La fel, cu acest automobil, aceeași situație
This
ca și
car,
Nissan
well, I'd
Patrol.
say that the
Eu am
same
prezentat, de
situation
fapt,
applies as with the
explicațiile
Nissan
cele
Patrol.
scrise
I've
a
provided
vânătorilor.
explanations
Unul din ei care
in writing the explanations of the hunters. And
se
one
cunoștea
of
mai
them
bine cu taică, mi-a
had a
spunea
better
și a
relationship
declarat
with
că
my
el
father,
l-a
who
văzut
knew
pe
him
dânsul
better, and
la
he
volan
said that
acest
he
automobil.
has seen
Eu
him
altfel
driving
nu
that
am
car.
cum să confirm
There's no other way
că
for me
el
to
a fost
confirm
vreodată
that
la
he
alt
has
numic decât prin declarațiile
ever
celor
driven
persoane
that
care îl
car. All I
cunoșteau,
have is the
care
statements
eu
of people who knew him
timp petreceam împreună.
and
Erau
people who
ori
he
vânători,
has
ori
spent a lot of
erau
time with. They
agricultori.
were either hunters or beekeepers.
Soția mea l-a folosit și eu l-am
My
folosit la
wife
fel,
has used
în
it,
acest
I have
caz
used
l-am
it,
achitat eu
and in this
asigurările
case
de
too,
toate.
I was the one
De
paying
fiecare
for
dată și
insurance
revizie tehnică,
every
ori
time, same for technical inspection. I shall reiterate that position, that it was that friend who I would just give him a call. I did not even have to travel all the way to his office. He would take care of the insurance, and I was sure that on the day I would call him, he would take care of it on that same day, and then I would give him the money at some point. I mean, the amounts were not huge, 500 or 600 lei, so that's not that big an amount. And he would send me the electronic version of the insurance, and then I would pick it up, and then it was very convenient to have things work like that. It was very convenient to pay for it like that and to get your insurance in that particular fashion. And I have also checked on the basis of the information supplied to me by Transelit. The insurance was also me taking care of insurance. Maybe once or twice it was the law firm taking care of it. That's the relevant information.
I'm sorry to say that the police sanctioned you in this car as well, 5 times even. So, how much of the time did you use that car?
Știți, nu știu, dacă am o informație care să fie mai clară despre
I don't know. Speaking of some clearer information as to how often I've been using it, perhaps when my father would take the Nissan Patrol from me, or he would drive it when he needed it, especially during summertime, he would always take the Nissan Patrol from me. So I guess that in exchange I would be driving the Hyundai, which is a very small car, and it's only to be used on urban roads. So at the time we would be using this car. I think that's the explanation behind it. As to how frequently, how often, well, depending on whenever I didn't have the Nissan, I would use the other car. And I think that's why there are more penalties when we're driving the Hyundai. It's likely I was using the Hyundai oftener than I was using the Nissan Patrol.
This is the information about the cars. I don't know if my colleagues have any questions. Okay, then we move to the... Yeah. So then what is left are the weapons, and my colleague will do the question on that.
Domnule procuror, ciclul de întrebări care îl dau este legat de
Now, the questions that I will be asking you about has to do with the legally owned weapons by your late father, and it is unfortunate that we have to go back to issues that have an impact on you, that affect you. My first question is about who, after your father passed away, and according to the will, according to that procedure, who became the owner of the 2 IJ weapons, long guns, and a gas pistol, 9mm caliber. In 2025, I can't remember specifically, it was either May or August, my mother had already decided to start dividing the property, the assets, so that we could also have the inheritance agreements go through. At that time, my sister rejected those weapons. She refused to take them. I do not need weapons either. I've never been a hunter. I never had a permit to carry a gun. And I do not want to have those firearms in my house, but I had to because my mother, she was not in a position to take care of disposing of them, selling them away, or keeping them in some particular place. So she said, I will keep so that I was going to get the weapons, and that this was put down in the donation agreement. As you've confirmed in your answers to the questions asked by my colleagues, you have lived with your father until he passed away. Is that correct? Yes. However, there is something very important that must be taken into account that I've also addressed in the explanations that I've provided. And I think that you, too, as a professional in this particular field, I think you will understand the point that I'm trying to make. I and my father, we were living in Ciocana district.
Armele nu se păstrau în domiciliul
The
nostru,
weapons, the
deoarece
firearms were not
eu aveam
kept at
copii,
home
noi aveam
because
familie,
I
familia era
had
destul de
children,
mare
the family was quite large,
taică-mi, la
and my
solicitarea mea,
father,
a
at
decis
my
să ia
request,
aceste arme și să le depoziteze
agreed
sau să
to
le
take the
păstreze în
firearms
altă
and
locație.
keep them
Este
in a
vorba
different
de
place.
o casă
That is a
care
house
aparține cu drept de
that
proprietate
is
celor
owned
mele.
and belongs
În
to
satul
my
Colonița,
sister
pe
in the
strada
village of Kolonița.
Am văzut că la materialele
And I've seen that in the
este un
evaluation
răspuns
file, in those
a
materials, there
inspectorului
is an
poliției
answer provided by the Ciocana
care-
Police
din care
Inspectorate,
rezultă că în anul 22, în luna septembrie,
stating that in 2022, in the month of September, the police officer carried out a verification at the place where the guns were being kept, so not at the home on the Mircea cel Băstrin Street, but in Kolonița village, where the weapons were being kept, where the firearms were being kept. And given that the owner of the property was my sister and that police inspector have traveled to that place. So there is a safe box, that's where the firearms were being kept. But my sister did not have the key. After my father passed away, my sister did not manage to find the key to the safe box. The inspector went there. He has drafted a report stating that at his request, my sister allowed him to have access to the safe box, but that it was not possible to open it, to unlock it, to open it, and to take the firearms from there. After a while, my sister found the keys in 2024, again in September, if I'm not mistaken. And she asked me, knowing that the police was going to take those firearms away because she's been warned by that police officer early on about it, she asked me to take the firearms to the police. She didn't know how to handle it, how to put them together, and she didn't know how to operate with them. I too am not very knowledgeable about firearms. They were heavy. I took them to the police inspectorate the next day. The police inspectorate put together a report regarding the fact that they've received the firearms. And this is my fundamental explanation, that my father was domiciled on a particular address, but the firearms were kept at a different address. And what the commission stated with regards to the handover of those firearms within 15 days after the holder passed away, that's not on, I don't take that as being on me because they were not located in my home and I didn't know where they were. I knew he was a hunter. Knowing that he was a hunter, I knew he had firearms, but I didn't know what sort of guns they were. I didn't know what model, what type. I didn't know specifically exactly where he was keeping them. It's only later that I found out that there were 2 guns and a pistol, which is why I believe that this obligation, although it pertains to the members of the family, it is to it is concerning the members of the family who owned that place where the guns were being kept. And as I was not the owner of that real estate, that property where the guns were being kept, I can't go into a property that doesn't belong to me. I could have talked about it with my sister, indeed, but I didn't know where exactly they were. I mean, he hid them away in a place that was more, well, not quite in plain view, because my sister just came across them as she was cleaning up. And since the moment he passed away and until the guns were handed over, I have personally received no request from the police to hand those guns over. Had I had any knowledge about it, I would have done something about it. But I believe that this obligation does not pertain to me solely for the fact that that I and my father were living together. What is essential to understand is that the guns were in a different place in the home of somebody belonging to somebody else but me. Now, in your explanation, you've managed to answer ahead of time some questions that I was going to ask. And you were right, because I will be reading out now the provision in the law 130, Article 14, Paragraph 7, that states that the relatives or the people who live together with the person who legally holds weapons, guns, or ammunition have the obligation, if the holder passes away or is gone missing, so have the obligation to hand over those assets within 15 days to the closest police inspectorate or police station, so within 15 days after the person, the holder has passed away. So that's why the question of the commission makes sense, and why you did not hand that over as the law requires, because you were living with a person. It doesn't say that people who, as regards those provisions, it made sense to ask that question to you. Still, your logic in providing answers was that you've become the beneficial owner of those guns, and then that you were the ones who has taken them to the police in 2024. So you have provided the answer to the question that I had in mind. Though I wanted to ask you whether your sister or other members, whether any family member was imposed a contravention misdemeanor penalty for that action or inaction. So that's what I provided in the explanation, that when I handed over the guns to the inspector, with regards to me or with regards to my sister or the mother or my wife, they're all family members, my father was living with, so no misdemeanor report whatsoever was drafted with regards to either of us, so nothing at all. What about any documentation regarding the fact that there was no voluntary yielding of those guns? There was nothing. The only document that was drafted was that particular report that the guns have been received. And in general, the police person had no claims or did not raise any issues with me at all, no objection whatsoever. I just went over, gave the guns away, he checked that, I signed off the report, and I left the inspectorate. Understood. No more questions regarding this matter. Let me look at my colleagues if they have any clarification or follow-up questions.
Just a couple general questions. I just want to clarify, where were you living at the time your father died?
On the street, an apartment building. I can also say what the number of the apartment was, if that is required.
I don't need the address. I mean, were you living in the same place as your father or at a different?
Yes, precisely. That was a three-bedroom apartment, and my family and my mother and father, we were all living there together.
And so your sister was living near, far, I don't need an address, but where was she living? At a separate place?
My sister was living nearby.
How nearby? Like 100 meters nearby, or?
Well, about 500 meters away. But if you are thinking of that house in Kolonitsa, she was not living there. But she was living about 500 meters away from us.
So the guns were at a house in Kolonitsa?
Yes, in a different house that was a private house, detached house. But where my sister was living, there's just an apartment in a block of apartments where she was actually living.
Kolonitsa?
In Kolonitsa, that is a house that it was not demolished, but it's in a deteriorated condition. Nobody would live there. Maybe we would just go there in summer when my father would take care of the garden of the land there. There's several land plots, so we could go out on a picnic during summertime. So we just go there to spend some of our leisure time, like a summer villa, but it's not a villa, essentially. It was just a very, very old house.
And so the guns were at that location?
That's right. That's where the firearms were, the guns. They were there, but as far as I know, my sister told me that they were kept in the garage. The garage was underground, and you wouldn't get easy access to that garage because it was full of all sorts of stuff. So that's why we didn't find them that quickly and that easily after he passed away. First reason, we didn't know where exactly they were. And second reason, they were not precisely in the house, but in the garage, which was underground.
I'm trying to understand physically where you were, where your sister was, where your father was, where the guns were. So I understand that now. And then I do have a second question. Going back to the cars, you made a brief reference at one point that you were not allowed to use your father's car. Can you explain when that was and why that was?
Да, în anul 2017-2018
In 2017-2018,
nu am plătit polița
I
de
did
asigurare
not pay the insurance,
și
and I was not the one to pay the technical inspection of that car, and that's what I've seen out of the
și este adevărat.
evaluation file of the panel, and that is correct, that is true. I have given the keys to my father, and I have not had anything to do with the car for a year. And that is why I did not take care of the technical inspection and of the insurance. Since you took that away from me, then he was supposed to take care of that.
Was there a disagreement between you and your father over driving the car, or what was the reason you weren't allowed to use it?
Eu asta am spus-o și în Comisia Prevetting.
I have told this to the Preventing Commission. Indeed, we had a situation.
So it's a
Bine,
different
dar
statute.
eu
That's why
înțeleg,
I'm
dar
asking
vreau...
the question today.
Am înțeles, dar
I
vreau să vă
understand.
arăt
I was
că
just,
eu,
my
vorbesc
point was that I
același
wanted to
lucru.
say that I was
Nu
consistent,
schimb esența
and
anumitor
that
circumstanțe care le-am
essentially
ajutat
I am not
anterior.
changing any
Nu vreau
fundamentals
să
of the
fac,
circumstances. I do not
o
want
aluzie că
to
comisia aceea, în comparație cu comisia respectivă, sau cumva să
suggest that
fac
that
o
commission compared to this
referință
commission,
doar
it's
să
not
vă
that,
explic că
that is not the
circumstanțele
point
care
at
le-am
all.
redat
I was just
2
going
sau
to
3 ani în
explain the
urmă
circumstances
sunt
that I've already
aceleași,
explained
deoarece
2 or
este
3
un
years ago.
adevăr și
They
este un
are the
lucru
same.
pe care l-am
That is the
spus
truth,
atunci,
and
sincer.
that is something that I was
Am avut
also
anumite
that I've also
neînțelegeri.
spoken
Nu,
about
dacă îmi
very
permiteți să nu intru în
sincerely.
detalii, că
We had
sunt
some
chestii
disagreements. I would like not to go into the
a
details
familiei
because they
noastre.
have to do with the privacy of our family.
But it was your father's decision that for some period you would not be driving any car or just one of the cars?
Mai degrabă decizia
It
mea.
was rather my decision not to.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then, Mr. Codreanu, at this point, what we do is we'll give you an opportunity to make a closing statement. I do note again that there is the possibility we'll need to follow up on information that was submitted late last night. Thank you.
În încheiere vreau să mulțumesc
As a closing remark, I would like to
rudelor și membrilor familiei
thank
mele
my
care deja de
relatives,
3
members of
ani
my family who
mă susțin
for
și
3
mă
years
ajută în
now
aceste
are
proceduri.
supporting me undergoing these
Sunt destul de
procedures. They are
complicate,
rather complicated
stresante pe locuri
and rather
pentru
stressful,
ei,
I should say, for them
dar
too.
necătând aceasta,
However,
totdeauna m-au susținut
regardless,
și
they've always been there for me,
solicitare pe care
supporting
m-am
me
făcut.
and
Ei
open to
probabil
respond to
că
all of my requests.
n-aș
Without
fi
them,
reușit
I think
să
I wouldn't have been
dau
able to
răspunsurile care
provide all
îmi
of the
întemeiază
answers that were sought and
argumentele.
that helped me support
La fel vreau
my
să
position.
mulțumesc
I would also
prietenilor,
like to thank my
colegilor de
friends,
serviciu
my
care mă susțin și mă
colleagues at
încurajează
work who are supporting me and encouraging me
în legătură cu acest proces și
throughout this entire
colegilor vreau să
process,
le
and I
doresc
would also like to wish
succes,
my colleagues the best of
să
luck
reușească să
and
țină
that they
cont de
managed
această
to successfully
evaluare
pass this
și, desigur,
evaluation
curaj
and that they
și
stay courageous and brave
perseverență
and
pentru a
perseverant
putea
so that they
demonstra
can
anumite lucruri care
prove
la prima vedere
things
par complicate,
that
dar care
initially
sunt
might
adevăruri și
appear
nu pot fi
complicated but that
negate.
are actually true and cannot be
Atât am
refuted.
mulțumit.
That's everything that I wanted to say.
Thank you. We thank you for your participation both during the evaluation process and at the hearing, and the hearing is now closed.